anything like we do today. He couldn't speculate on how things were because his life was dependent upon everything he did. When you outside in nature and it's just you and nature, you got no guns, no fire, no sticks, then everything you come in contact with could be deadly. Because it's just you. They got bees that'll whip your ass. They got ants that'll whip your ass. And all the animals surely could whip your ass. And after dark, you are totally at their mercy. So there's no way that man early on thought that he was in a God looked like a man, a human, let alone a man. But the first gods were all female anyway. It wasn't until solar time, which is within the last 100,000 years, that gods got to be males at all. All the gods prior to that were female for one simple reason. That symbol is what's known as an Ankh. But more importantly, that's what the female uterus looks like, where life comes from. And they knew that. Here's where the eggs go in. This is where the baby is formed. That's the birth canal. So they like, hey, that's where life comes from. So ain't no man giving life. All life on this planet comes from the female species. So if you're talking about life-giving, God would probably be female, not male. Also, who is the nurturer and the caregiver to the family? The female. Early men were the hunter-gatherers. The family structure was women plus children. The early family didn't have any males in it at all. So the phenomena as the family structure as we know it, a man, woman, and a child, that's all also very contemporary as an idea. It's only when you get to be to the stage that you have traversed the earth, you have learned how to cultivate crops and domesticate cattle, can you sit your ass down somewhere and make a living and eat. And that's when you can start a family like we have. Prior to that, you got to go out here and follow the food around. And that's what men do. Men are the hunter-gatherers. The women are the ones sitting in the house raising the babies. The men were nowhere to be. It's the same thing as in the animal kingdom. What animal set do you see the male sitting around with the female every day and the kids? So why would you think that we are a part of the animal family? We're just supposed to be at the top, although our dumb asses do some shit that squirrels and other things don't do. So we may not even be at the top. They don't smoke, they don't drink, they don't do dope, huh? They don't go fornicate every time their little pee-pee gets hard, huh? They know when to reproduce, huh? And they only reproduce with like kind, huh? Squirrels are not screwing beavers. Okay? And I got some animals that live in my house. I have a groundhog. I got some squirrels, some rabbits, all kind of stuff in my backyard, and they don't mix. Trust me. And the groundhog is way bigger than the squirrels, and he came out today because I was watching. I'm like, damn. He came out, now this groundhog is about that wide, that big. Okay? The squirrel's like a fifth of his size. Squirrel came running across the yard to the tree. That bad boy hit it back because he lives underneath my stairs. Man, I'm like, come on, man. Now you know damn well you way bigger than him. But I have never seen them interact. Okay? And like I say, I have gotten to be kind of a real nature guy since I moved in this house. I know every blade of grass in my yard personally, because I went and dug them up with a 3-hole, one of them little garden things. My whole yard I did with that, because I didn't have a house, so I didn't have no tools, and I needed some grass in my front yard. So I dug up the whole front yard with this little hole. That's a true story. So I got to know all the animals, all that, you know. So anyway, back to this. So we need to understand that the concepts we have today are really patriarchal thinking. That's not African, it's not correct, and it's really counterproductive. Because if you don't understand what we're going to do today, and what we're really talking about today is a book called God-Man and the Word Made Flesh. And this book decodes the Bible esoterically. The Bible is a book about the human body. It's not a book about people. The children of Israel are really the oil produced from the pineal, the pineal gland is the thing in your head looks like this. It actually looks, the real one looks like this. But the symbol they use for it is this, the all-seeing eye, which is also referred to in some circles contemporarily as Horus. Horus was the northern pole star. It was never a person. So the whole story of Cain and Abel, evil and good, devil and God, all of that is really a story about the never-setting star in the north, called the pole star, and the never-setting star in the south, called the pole star, and there's 6 other stars that surround this star, and that's where you get the concept of God and 7. Those never-setting stars are the Jewish candelabra, all of that. But it comes from pole stars. And the reason that, here's the equator, this is where man started. Okay? So the first God in this whole story was this little guy down here called Set, who has now been demonized and turned into Satan. But the oldest God outside of Bess, okay? Because keep in mind now, Bess is in the form of a human, so that's not as old as this, okay? The first stuff starts out.
He's right now.
So before we get to gods or anything close to that, let's show how African people actually evolved this concept. This represents earth, air, fire, water. Those were the first supernatural forces before we got to making gods into anything else. This is how it starts. Because man on earth came to realize these are the forces that dominated his being daily. You can't function without some air. And on the savannah in Africa, you need that breeze to come through. Water, obviously, is real important in Africa. Because in the drought season is where you come up with the dragon, the devil, the heat, the snake. The drought is what killed everything in Africa. So the wet season is where you have life. The dry season is where you had death. This later evolves into Jesus, Satan, blah, 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 blah. But that had nothing to do with how this all started. That's so far down that
thing called life, it's ridiculous. Clearly, we live on planet Earth. Now, everybody, until we got taken over by white people, understood Mother Earth is the source of our being. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense to go out here and screw up the water, screw up the air, and all the stuff that you have to get your nourishment from comes from here. So poisoning this is probably not a smart idea. I.e. Monsanto, Cargill, all the death cycles that we have out there, all them corporations that's killing us every day, poisoning the food supply.
Right.
Think about it. The air, nobody, now, Donald Trump would lead you to believe that we're uncivilized. But as uncivilized as we were or are, we've been on the earth a long time, and we had sense enough not to mess up the stuff that we had to have every day to survive. Huh? White people only been in power 2,000 years, and in 2,000 years they have screwed the whole damn planet up. They poisoned the water, the air, the earth, made plastic and put it back in the earth, and plastic never dissolves. Huh? Got you eating plastic. Margarine is one molecule from plastic. Now, for those of you who are not as old as I am, when margarine first came out, it was the color of this wrapper, and there was a little yellow package in the thing that you got in the commodity pack, and you took that little orangish yellow pack and you put it in with this clear stuff, and that's what gave it color to make it look like butter.
I didn't know that.
Really? No, I'm a little older than you.
Just a little bit.
But that's how it started. Especially for poor people, when, you know, people that were poor, and you had government cheese and that, that's where all that crap came from.
Government cheese.
Yeah.
Government.
Yeah. But I remember seeing margarine back in the day, and I remember that.
That is interesting. I did not.
Now they so slick they color it for you, so you think it looks like butter. That ain't how it started out at all. Okay. But okay, so we start out. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice it's the law of opposites. This is also the law of opposites, called the yin and the yang. Huh? Because in the universe, there is duality. Duality is about balance. That's why you have two of everything in your body. It's always looking for harmony or balance. Here's the other piece. Day, night, and air. These are the first supernatural forces by which everything that you do today is developed. This is how it all started. So I don't know how you got God out of all of this, other than some people told you that's how it went, and you took their definition and ran with it, because that's not how it started.
Well, if the definition of a lie is...
It makes a lot of sense. All the people, at least in this hemisphere, we got our religious orientation from our slave master. Now, he wasn't in the business of trying to be nice to us, so why we took that story, hook, line, and sinker, bought it, packaged it, and then thought this was real and was going to save us is really kind of some mental gymnastics on our part, because he's always understood that's not what it was. Okay, he go to church, and he get out of church, watch the mafia movies. They go to church. After church, they come out and do what they got to do. Huh? Yeah. They are not confused about what. Hey, we give him 1 hour. Okay. After that, it's we running this. We the only ones, as Dr. Clark said, we out Pope the Pope and out Muhammad. We take this serious because we're a very spiritual people. Now, the difference between spirituality and religion is two distinctly different things. Religion is something man-made, and the religions we have today, Christendom, came from Constantine at the Council of Nicaea in 325, where he brought the bishops from Europe together, told the African bishops, you got to go. He installed Jesus as the Son of God. and created Easter, that thing you get ready to celebrate on Sunday. That came from Constantine. It ain't got nothing to do with God. Don't take my word for it. You can look up Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. It's the world's first Christian convention. Check it out for yourself. Then you'll find out that what you worship and you think is Jesus Christ is Julius Caesar. But just to hit home on this a little harder, and then we, as my friend Pastor Lindsay would say, we're gonna hit it and then quit it like James Brown. For those of you who still wondering, that's right. That's the name, right? So what was his name? Somebody tell me, what was his name as far as you know?
Well, in Hebrew it's called.
No, don't go there.
Okay,
Just
no,
what do they call him in the so-called Bible?
The Messiah.
Messiah.
No. What's his name? What do you call it? Jesus what?
Son of
Christ.
God.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus the Christ. Some call him Jesus Christ. But I'll be damned. Now, again, I'm a little older than y'all, because when I came through, they said it was Jesus of Nazareth. I don't know how the Christ and it got to be his surname. I don't even know how they got in there. That wasn't the boy's name. It was Jesus of Nazareth, right?
Jesus the Christ is supposed to denounce Jesus the Messiah, or Jesus the Christ thing is a designation toward his office, supposedly.
Or
Now, I know
his-
a lot of people say Jesus Christ. I don't know how many understand that designation Christ.
Christ
Simple
comes from
Messiah.
the word Christos, which means to be anointed,
Exactly.
which means to be sprinkle some water on.
Back in those days,
Anybody could become the Christ
anointed.
or the anointed one.
Yeah.
But that was not his name. See, that's what I'm saying. We go to church right now and they're Jesus Christ. Like Jesus is his first name and Christ is his last name. Not only is that crazy, but he's Jewish, right?
No, Jerry is Jewish.
Huh? There's no J in the Hebrew alphabet.
None.
So I want to know how his name got to be Jesus in the first place.
Daddy said his name is something else.
Wait a minute, it gets worse. When you pray in the name of Jesus, right?
Right.
So let's just role play for a minute. All right? You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
You gonna be Jesus, I'm gonna be God, right?
Okay.
So my number is 590-3839. Ring me up on the phone.
Hello.
God,
Yeah.
what's up? What you need?
You.
Okay? I'm available. What exactly is it that you need?
Salvation.
Oh, okay. All right. We can handle that. So I'll let you go. We can handle that. I got the request. So now you're doing this in whose name?
Jesus' name.
All right. Now what's your name?
Sierra.
My name's Phil.
Okay.
Sierra. I want you to call my house, but you call my house and ask for Bill.
Okay. Hello. Can I speak to Bill?
Bill don't live here.
This ain't your number?
You probably have the wrong number. Huh?
Okay.
What number did you dial? Now I want you to understand that, because that's got to be what happens when you call God with the wrong name.
Right. I see.
There ain't no such thing. This. Huh? Now, so either something's wrong with the connection or God's a liar. You can't have it both ways. I'm not God. And if you call my house and ask for Bill, I'm not Bill. Right? So how are you going to call God in the name of Jesus? There ain't nobody named Jesus, so God wouldn't know who the hell you're talking about.
Right.
Let alone his kid. that Caesar made at a meeting in 325. Now, God been around forever. God has made everything, according to the story, right? The universe. I know you got one of them things a little bigger, right? Pull up the Milky Way.
I can't. She's on my phone recording.
You seen the Milky Way?
I got the picture.
Okay. The Milky Way are all, yeah, there we go. Let's pull up the Milky Way because we're going to run this test that we got called religion and see how far this nonsense goes. And then we're going to get to the real deal. The Milky Way are constellations of stars in our universe. But there's more than one Milky Way, and thanks to NASA and science and good white people and satellites, we can see all this stuff now. Okay? Now, back when I grew up in the 50s and 40s, you know, you could run the okie doke on us because we couldn't see this. So they told me that when you went to heaven, because my grandmother's up there, my great-grandmother's up there, my dad probably didn't make it, but Mom might be in purgatory or something. She probably, where's that place in between?
Purgatory, that's it.
Yeah, I'm working on getting her out. But, okay.
Take some money now.
Right. This is the Milky Way. Okay? Now, Earth is a speck over here, right? How you get Earth in the Milky Way? Because once you see this, the whole story falls completely apart.
You gotta probably take that.
All right?
Here we go. Okay, so here's the Milky Way. And, oh my goodness, I don't even think we're going to be able to zoom in and even see Earth. But
Okay.
it's a little speck.
All right?
That's Earth, what we consider Earth.
All right? That's what I'm saying.
It's a little speck.
So let's look at it in the context of the
one
floor.
of the Milky Way.
Okay? All these dots on the floor is the Milky Way. And this little speck of paper is Earth. All right? Now visualize this. Now, you are a person on this speck in the Milky Way. Now keep in mind, there's more than one Milky Way. Right? God made everything. Is that not right? So God made all of this. Okay? Now, I can see all of this, which is considered the heavens. So I want to know two things. Where's God and where's heaven? Because I see a whole lot of stuff and I can't find it.
Well, they said it's beyond the universe and the Milky Way, way past it.
We're
Beyond
looking
the
at 2 or
darkness.
3 of them. But if that's true, then how do we know they got castles with golden sidewalks?
Exactly. Right.
Huh?
Right.
They
That's
got
right.
you got a mansion coming with some gold sidewalks.
I'm waiting on
So
it.
somebody had to either be there or something happened. Now I can't find. I mean, but keep in mind. Let's go one step further. You're the speck on this dot, and God is supposedly over all this. Hopefully, God is trying to keep all this stuff from bumping into each other. Hopefully, but now I'm going to insult God by, first and foremost, I'm the first person on this speck. So everything on the speck at one time, I was in charge of. I controlled it. It was mine. Now, God didn't come and take it away from me. I let some white people come and take it away from me. All right? But now I'm going back to God and go, hey, God. Psst. We had to have that conversation. God, can you get my shit back for me? What happened to it? Well, I let some people take. Well, then why are you asking me? Why don't you just go get it back? Because I'm kind of busy. I'm trying to keep all these things from bumping into each other, and I got a few things to do. You need your light bill paid. What? Are you a car? You ain't got no food. Oh, really? You call me for that? And now you see how crazy this sounds? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Now, if it still makes sense after all that, like I say, I got a bridge to sell you called Brooklyn. Because, you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's really insulting when you analyze this. And Leon Dixon, a good friend of mine, was going to college, and his roommate was Asian. So he was telling his Asian friend this story. And the guy kept looking at him like, are you crazy? What the hell's wrong with you? And so Leon said the more he talked, the crazier the story sounded. He's like, damn, it don't make sense to me either. The guy's like, really? And then this guy gets mad at you and curses you. Okay? But it gets better. Because this is the ultimate whammy for black people. And if you can explain this one, I'll join your church. Noah is drunk in a tent with somebody other than his wife. And one of his sons walks in and says, hey, Pops, what the hell you doing, man? Oh, man, yeah, I'm messed up. But seeing you came here and busted me, I'm cursing your mama and everybody in your family, only the black ones. Now, he curses Canaan land. This is Noah. This ain't God. Canaan land is associated with supposedly Ham. So here's the first trick. How did Noah get an Asian, a white guy, and a black guy from the same penis? Must have been a hell of a guy. But they're him to then curse all the black people on the earth forever. This must be one hell of a guy. But I don't recall anywhere in the Bible that God told me he gave Noah that kind of juice. Do you? Oh, okay. So then you all know that you ain't cursed, right? We can get rid of that today. We can solve that problem today. You are not cursed. I mean, because I did ask some preachers. I said, I don't know what you all did to God and or Jesus that you made him so mad he won't let you have first of anything. Now, I've not had no preachers tell me the answer to that one. I have been waiting, though, because I'm patient. But when you realize that it's not about that, and it's really about what we're going to talk about, then we can go back and fix this. Because in the book called the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, all of those books are telling you how you can become a God. It does say that in the book, right? Mm-hmm. A few times. But what you don't know, because the church perverted the story, is the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are the male and female organs in your body. That produce the oil called the golden fluid. One is a golden fluid. There's the pineal gland, your third eye. That one produces a golden-like substance, and it's male and magnetic. The gland right beneath it is the pituitary, the female gland. So that's why the so-called Muslims and others who have gotten this confused and put man over woman is because literally this gland sits on top of this gland. It has nothing to do with man supposed to be over a woman literally. Because the bottom gland is what feeds this to produce life. So without that, you can't do anything. So I'm sure that the sisters want their props back. Okay? This is the pituitary, that's the pineal. This is the female, that's the male. This one makes milk, this one makes honey. The land of milk and honey that the children of Israel will be returned to is producing these two, getting Jesus, which is born in your solar plexus right here.
I'm so confused.
Your solar plexus is right about here in your body. That's where Jesus is born every 29 and a half days to every person that's breathing on this planet. And it travels through the whole system and then starts down the straight and narrow path, which is the River Jordan or your spinal cord. Is going to build Solomon's temple, which is built without the sound of a hammer or a nail, so obviously it ain't a building. Solomon's temple, but as it moves down your spinal cord, if it's not destroyed, here in your genitals is Sodom and Gomorrah or Jonah and the whale. This is where the seed will fall down and get absorbed by the whale if you have kind of bad living. No drunkard will enter the kingdom of heaven. Make sure you understand that, because alcohol kills the seed. Has nothing to do with being drunk. It has to do with alcohol kills the seed instantly. You just, for that month, you just cancel your ticket. What you're trying to do is get this seed to travel all the way up the body, get to the medulla oblongata, which is Golgotha. The medulla oblongata is the points in the brain where the tree of life are the veins in the top of your brain, and they cross right there. The left side controls the opposite side, right? The left side of the brain controls the right side of the body and vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. So that means these nerves cross. This is the point they cross. It's called Golgotha. It's right there. When this seed gets all the way up your vertebrae, which are, by the way, the solar plexus are 12 plexus, nerve endings. That's Jesus being born at 12. He starts his ministry at 12. The 33 are the vertebrae in your spinal cord or your back that it gets up to and gets to this point where it gets crucified, where he stops his ministry at 33.
I'll go for the base of the skull.
At the base of the skull. That takes the boogeyman out of the story, because otherwise it's like, how come there's such a gap in this man's life? You got 12, 33, but you didn't talk about what happens in the meantime. Well, if you know about your vertebrae, and those vertebrae that it's crossing are also your chakras. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You have 7 chakras or energy centers, right? If those are open and spinning correctly, that energy can flow up and down and make this thing work correctly. Keep in mind, it's electric, so you're trying to get from ground to heaven and back, okay? So this thing will flow back and forth. Now, if you get that flow to work correctly all the time, your body becomes a self-healing, reproducing machine. That's why we know we're not living the life we could live, and this process is not taking place. Because if you have any ailments or any deficiencies in the system, that says something's going wrong here. The other thing is, if your spinal fluid or Christ was pure, that spinal fluid should be colorless and odorless. I talked to Daryl Thompson, who was the head of neurology at Truman, and he told me he had never seen anybody whose spinal fluid was not pussy and yellow with some level of stench to it. Which tells all of us living in the Western Hemisphere that the likelihood of us accomplishing that God essence is pretty hard to do because of the environment we live in. Not even to include all the bad data we get fed every day. Because two things affect this. Knowledge, what you see, what you hear. This is why you have to know anatomy. Here's those vertebrae I was talking about. Goes up here. Okay, I'll pass this around. Notice the first thing it bumps into is the bottom part of your brain is the cerebellum. The cerebellum is this. That's where your heart is. That thing in the middle of your chest is a blood pump, by the way. This is where your heart is, and your eyes and your ears are directly connected to that. And it does look like a heart, don't it? That's also your atom man. Or atom. This is when you're saying warring against God. Your man brain is warring against your God brain, your cerebrum. Gad is the top of your head, the brain at the top, where heaven is, where God is. And this part of the brain, where your ego is warring to keep control, so I keep you operating on a material level as opposed to a spiritual level. And until you can get this part of that system to work, which means you get this thing to fire. If you get this process, crucifixion to fire, here's where it's mind blowing. Because Friday is Good Friday, right? Huh? Mm-hmm. Jesus is in the ground 3 days, 3 nights, right? Mm-hmm. This seed goes from here to the pineal gland in 3 days. Me and my Father are one. Jesus is the light of the world. The light begins to open, and the Illuminati, that's you. Illuminati means enlightened ones. The light goes on. You begin to access all of the knowledge of the universe, and you become that enlightened one, that God, that Christ. Now, if you don't get this process to work, you can pray till your lips fall off. You can put as much money in the pot as you want. You can sing. You can march. All of that is not going to get you, because at the end of the day, what you need to understand, this is a chemical process. Your body is a big chemistry set. And if you don't give it the chemicals it needs, you will never make this thing work the way it's supposed to. It's no different than these machines out here. These are all gasoline cars. If you put diesel in them, they're not going to work right. Well, that's what you've been doing to your body every day. You've been putting diesel fuel into a system that needs gasoline. And then when you get sick, you get even dumber. Then you go put poison in the system. I have cancer are the cells warring against one another. How does your body actually feed itself?
What?
From the blood. What makes blood?
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Now, let me ask that question again, because I want you to hear this real clear. What makes the body, what feeds the body? The blood. And what makes blood? Air. I didn't hear nothing about food in there. I didn't hear steak. I didn't hear nothing about potatoes, greens. All that crap that you've been putting in the system does not do what you think it's doing. And actuality is doing just the opposite, because your body wants to be neutral all the time. You need this as an alkaline system, and 90% of the time you're putting acid in it. You're throwing it out of whack. That's why you have dis-ease or disease. This is real simple. And we make it complicated and sophisticated by overthinking it, as they say. See, if you really went back and said God was what we claim it to be, then God couldn't be so complicated that you need somebody to go interpret and figure out what the hell God's trying to tell you to do and then judge you on it. And the rules are so tough till you can't get them for yourself. I need the priest to do it. I need the pope to do it. But I'm going to judge you. Thursday, I spoke to the seniors at Concord.
Oh, yeah.
And I lit their fire because I brought this stuff out. And I said, now, according to the story, how long we been here? Oh, 2,000 years? 6,000 years? Okay. I said, so I want to know